Emery trying to outsmart everyone.
Yeah.
I'll pay this veteran a little bit more money, and he's going to immediately contribute.
Right.
And it never materialized, to be honest. And, I think what I'm hoping for is, say, Jared Allen makes a Julius Peppers type jump.
I honestly believe that's
from the 4-3 to the 3-4. Honestly, in my opinion, I think the 4-3 is starting to become a dinosaur in the NFL.
No question.
So,
when I was in high school and I played, we ran a 3-4, and it's just so much. I played defensive end, so obviously I'm a fan of the defensive lineman, but you need more speed. And, having 4 linebackers rather than 3 really, adds that speed aspect to the game that you really need. I mean, you really need to have, these running backs in the NFL are scrubs. I mean, they move and they can hit, and and you need to have people that can equal that intensity on the defensive end of the ball.
Not only that, but I would say coverage as well.
Oh, yeah.
Coverage in receivers and things like that. Back to Urlacher. Urlacher made the 4-3 work because Urlacher was all over the place.
Yeah, that's the only reason it worked.
Urlacher was all over the place, and also he made sure that Lance Briggs was in the right position to help him.
And that's why Lance Briggs was a Pro Bowler. Otherwise, Lance Briggs, he's gone, and we don't even know who he is.
Exactly.
I truly believe that Lance Briggs, while he was, I liked him as a person, I liked him as a player, losing Brian Urlacher changed him, and for a strong negative.
Changed the Bears.
The whole organization. I mean,
we are talking about a transcendent player in Brian Urlacher. A lot of people don't give him the credit that he deserves. Like, I say LeBron James is a transcendent player in the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Just as Brian Urlacher was that type of player.
Even in his last year, when he was slow and not the same player, you still saw the leadership on the field, and you still saw his vision, and it was just completely different watching him play rather than just being on the field. That's why I wanted them to hire him as a linebackers coach. I hope that relationship is mending. Obviously that it didn't end on good terms, but I'm hoping that that relationship kind of figures itself out, because I really would like to see Brian Urlacher back as a coach, like I'd like to see Tillman back. I do still think that the relationship between Tillman and the Bears is good. I just think Carolina offered him a little more money. So if it's your last year, go get paid. I don't hate on that, but I'd like to see them bring these players back, because they had a strong influence, and it would be nice to see them continue to have that influence.
Well, because you don't tell the Bears' story of the past 10 years without Charles Tillman and Brian Urlacher.
No doubt.
They were the cornerstones.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's sad that, things kind of went the way that they did.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Because you could tell that there was a rift there, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
There was a rift there.
Question.
And Brian Urlacher helped to make the Bears what they are. And back to the point earlier is that's why our 4-3 worked at that time.
Yeah.
Because we were able to put that extra guy on the line because Urlacher covered so much ground.
Yep.
He covered so much ground, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
he was all over the place.
You're right.
And when he needed to come down on the run, he was also able to do that as well as anybody in the league. And it was so impressive to watch him, and he's always been one of my favorite players. And like I said,
I learned the Chicago Bears based on Brian Urlacher.
Exactly.
That's how I learned who they were.
And it's just sad that there's still that rift there.
Yeah.
But John Fox is going to come in, and apparently, things are getting a little better with that relationship.
Yeah. Back to the point, I have a closet filled with jerseys, of all sports. And my first one that I ever had in my whole life was a blue Brian Urlacher jersey. And I hung on to that for years. Even after getting new Brian Urlacher jerseys, I still hung on to that first one because, I remember I didn't even know who he was at the time. He was a rookie. My dad just said, this guy's supposed to be good. Here you go, and that's how I learned. I remember I thought he was a quarterback because I didn't know the difference between the numbers. I didn't know that the quarterback number was low. I learned the game based on Brian Urlacher. So, I completely agree. He is and was one of the cornerstones of the franchise. And I still think his influences still last on some of the players that he played with. I still think that, they used some of his techniques that he taught them.
And coming out of college, Brian was relatively an unknown. I mean,
oh, yeah.
He was known, obviously, as a higher pick, but, nobody knew that he was going to make the jump.
There's always that one guy in the draft that is like, who is this guy?
Kyle Long, for instance.
Absolutely. That was you took the words right out of my mouth. But, there's always that one guy that's like, who is this guy? And ends up being a Pro Bowler, a perennial Pro Bowler. And, obviously Kyle Long, like you said, first 2 years. I remember when they drafted him, I'm like, okay, he's Howie's son and he's Chris's brother. What else is there about him? Remember they had 4 highlights of the guy on replay.
Yeah.
It was like, why are they drafting this guy? And he's a Pro Bowler his first 2 years in the league. So, so fine. My hat's off to that pick. Good job. That's the first offensive lineman I've seen drafted by the Bears that actually worked out in the first round. Usually they wasted on an offensive lineman, and he's trash. That's happened many times. So yeah, I mean, there's always that unknown that really comes into play.
Yeah, there really is. You are listening to ChicagolandSports.com. We're also going to talk about the horrible safety play that we had.
Oh, man.
I would actually say non-existent safety play.
Pretty much.
You could almost take those 2 guys out of the picture, and I don't know if you'd see that big of a difference.
No.
That's a little much, but
I don't know if it's a little much. I think that might be factual.
So yeah, Ryan Mundy, like we talked about, Ryan Mundy, he showed hard out there, and he played hard, and that's all we can ask.
Yeah. And he made some plays. He made some good plays out there. There's no question.
And the thing is it's not that easy to find that Earl Thomas. It's not very easy in the NFL to find that perennial Pro Bowl.
I mean, Earl
safety.
Thomas is a god out there.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's not easy to find those guys, but a lot of that comes down to scheme. Mm-hmm. A lot of that comes down to scheme and coaching and what position you're putting these players. And Mel Tucker followed suit with the rest of those guys. And it obviously didn't work.
Yeah,
and,
clearly.
We'll see. We'll see. But, like I said, I expect us to get some more players in, just to kind of get somebody on the field that is going to be in the right place, that's going to do what he's supposed to do, that's going to just be where he's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
Just some consistency.
Yeah, I mean, and the simple fact is that I think this 3-4, back to that whole point, is going to change a lot of players. I love the Eddie Goldman pick. I think that he's going to be a great nose tackle in the 3-4. I watched a lot of tape on him when they drafted him out of Florida State. I really like the fact that they didn't draft Danny Shelton and that they waited to the second round because, to be honest with you, I think Eddie Goldman is a better draft prospect than Danny Shelton was. There's that whole drop. I mean, maybe it's because he played on Florida State, but that's what some people tell me. But no, I truly believe that was a great pick and that he's going to thrive in that 3-4. I really think Jared Allen is going to become that Julius Peppers, what happened in Green Bay. I really like that move. I think Jared Allen is real frustrated that he had the season he had last year. And I believe Jared Allen's going to come back strong and have – honestly, I think he's going to get about 10 sacks. I really do.
And to your point, the 3-4, it changes everything from the front to the back.
Yep.
The safeties are going to have a little more help with the linebacker. Mm-hmm. It changes everything.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's kind of the 4-3 is kind of a dinosaur.
Yeah, it is.
I don't have the exact numbers, but it's most of the teams right now are running 3-4s.
Yeah.
Or a 3-4 defense.
No, that and if just to add to it, most of the successful defenses are running the 3-4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure. You're listening to ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up here. Nick, what is your final thoughts on what you think the Bears need to do to have a good 2015 season?
Well, basically, most of it's already done with the firing of Mark Trestman and Phil Emery. We got a lot done, and a lot accomplished with that. A lot of everything's going to be changed. We're moving to a 3-4, different schemes on defense, different schemes on offense. In terms of the offense, I'd like to see a lot less of those bubble screens to the wide receivers.
Definitely.
To the wide receivers as well as the running backs. Like we talked about before, Matt Forte is an excellent between the tackles runner. And,
one of the best.
And we did not use him whatsoever in that. Just there was times where he maybe ran it up the middle once or twice, and that's just it's not acceptable. It is a vital part of any offense is just running it right up the gut and making the defense respect that aspect of your game.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that, and a little more speed routes with the wide receivers. Now that we've got a little bit of change in personnel, we don't have, two bookends that are basically the same type of.
Oh, no doubt.
Basically the same type of player, and the defense doesn't have to respect any type of speed. They're watching for those button hooks, and all the cornerbacks are constantly sitting on it.
Yeah.
I think that's going to make a just huge change, monumental change.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that the main thing for me is I believe that the offense and Cutler will all fall into place once we get back to that classic Chicago Bears defense first, state of mind, because the last couple of years it was an offense first mentality with Trestman, and it clearly didn't work. And I don't think that the Bears can succeed with that offense first mentality. I think that they, when in the past when Cutler was first here in his first few seasons, he made plays after the defense made plays for him. And I just think that once we get back to that defense first mentality, it'll be everything will fall into place.
And back to my old point, when you run it up the gut, it affects your defense in a good way. In terms of you are lengthening the time that your defense gets to sit on the sidelines and rest.
Yeah.
And we were just on and off the field so quickly that our defense had no time to sit and rest. They were exhausted, not only out of position, but they were also exhausted. That's a combination you definitely don't want.
Can't have it. Yeah.
And it's just that's and when it comes to the defense, changing to the 3-4 like we talked about earlier, I think it's just going to make a world of difference. We're going to have an extra linebacker to help those safeties, help those cornerbacks. It could help Fuller flourish even more. So, things like that we really need to work out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think with the defense and just being respectful out there and really trying to compete at a level where they're not getting embarrassed. I don't want them to go out against the Packers and have Aaron Rodgers throw 6 touchdowns on them anymore. I mean, I'm sick of watching it. I know you're sick of watching it, and I know every other Bears fan that watches the games is sick of seeing the Packers walk all over us. So I just that's my one hope. I don't care if they win the division. I'd like them to. I don't care if they make the playoffs. I just want them to be a respectful, be respectable and get in there and when it matters most and really not get stomped on.
Yeah, especially there was those 2 games where we basically got about 100 points put on us.
Yeah.
That was where you knew that there was real trouble within the organization, throughout the entire organization, not just the players, everyone. It was just it was awful, and like Joe just said, we want to get back to a respectability, because don't think that the entire NFL doesn't see that and doesn't
absolutely
all around shake their head and say what's really going on here from top to bottom.
Yeah,
what's really going on here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was very obvious that there was stuff going on in the locker room. That was clearly translating on the field, and if the Bears were on Hard Knocks, we would have known all that, but they weren't, and I'm glad. Well, that's all the time we got here today. For Nicholas Furst, I'm Joy Bloom. This has been your 2015 Bears Live Update on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com.